outskirts of Wigan, a town that once boasted a sixth of all Lancashire's collieries. And amongst the 19th century factories and covered warehouses, it still boasts the most famous loading stave in the country. Believe it or not, this is it. This is Wigan Pier, as immortalised by George Orwell in his book The Road to Wigan Pier. Of course, it's not really a pier at all, is it? You can see this rail here flipping up like this. It's another of those coal tippers with the big tipper on the top there to tip the coal into the barge down in the canal. It was just rather sarcastically called a pier to compare it with the glorious seaside piers at Southport and Blackpool. Orwell wrote his essay about Wigan in 1936 to raise awareness of the social conditions in the industrial north. And after 2 months spent in cheap lodgings, he certainly didn't hold back. He says, there are filthy slums, belching foundries, stinking canals and slag heaps. Well, fair enough, at the time Britain was recovering from a terrible depression, but Orwell's depiction of Wigan has kind of stuck, which is a bit unfair really, because although it was never a place of sea, sand and surf, it was one of the driving forces behind the region's economy because of the canal. Timing was everything here in Wigan. The coal had always been here, of course, but that fateful delay in the canal's construction meant the town became key to the success of the canal, and the canal became key to the success of the town. Wigan also became the last chapter in the canal's construction. And the final stretch was one of the most difficult they faced. Over the whole 127 miles of the canal, it rises just 487 feet. But over the next 3 miles, it rises 200 of those feet, over 21 locks. The canal had started under George III, but Britain was almost Victorian by the time it was finished. It was still a magnificent achievement, stretching 127 miles, with 91 locks and 504 bridges. See that date there, that is hugely significant. Opened 1816, October the 22nd. That is the moment when the Liverpool part of the canal and the Leeds part of the canal finally joined together. So finally, after 46 years and 5 times over budget, the canal could justifiably call itself the Liverpool to Leeds Canal. With the canal's completion, it wasn't just Liverpool and Leeds that benefited. Everywhere along its route reaped the rewards. Nowhere more than Wigan. From up here, you can see all the way down the flight of locks back into Wigan, and you can see how it exploded in the 19th century. And the reason why it exploded is the reason why I can see it in the first place. Because what I've just climbed isn't a hill, it's a great big mound of slag, one of the biggest slag heaps in the country, all made out of local debris, a product of the Wigan Iron Coal Company. By the middle of the 19th century, this outfit had built up a monopoly on mining in this area. And at sites like the Kirklis Hall Ironworks, they were turning Wigan into an industrial megacentre, exploiting coal in every possible way. Kirklis became one of the biggest coal and ironworks in Europe, and right up till 1985 was an engineering headquarters of the National Coal Board. In its time, this place was legendary, wasn't it?
Very much so, yes, it was.
What did you do?
I was an engineer on locomotives.
Which one's you?
The young boy, the nice looking one.
The one right at the back?
That's right,
yes.
That's right.
What was here?
This is a photograph of the top place as it was prior to the Second World War.
So where are we standing?
We're standing quite close to those 2 buildings. These are the 2 workshops behind us. It's only part.
So what was all this for?
This is coking plants, rolling mills. There was foundries, there was all steel making plants, flag plants, paint, benzene, the other flagworks, everything went on here.
It's slap bang by the canal then.
That's right, it is.
Through a century of growth, the canal was at the heart of everything that went on at Kirklees. The artery that spread Wigan's industrial output far and wide. Did you have a good time when you were here?
Absolutely, absolutely. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Good to meet you both.
Nice to meet you, Tom.
Nice to meet you. Cheers. Today, just a few buildings here remain. And for me, its loss rather sums up the bittersweet feeling I've got about this walk. Life on and by the canal must have been bleak, dirty and harsh in its heyday. But the astonishing figures about the wealth it helped create and the fond memories that people have of their working lives are reminders of just how much has been lost here in Lancashire. George Orwell wrote, "The road to Wigan is a long one, and the reasons for taking it are not immediately clear." Well, I'd agree with the first part of that, but I'd take issue with the second. I much prefer a 19th century appraisal I came across, which went, "No part of our kingdom has benefited more from a public work of any kind than the country through which the Leeds to Liverpool Canal passes." And I reckon that's just about right. If you want to follow in my footsteps, you can download a guide to my walk by going to www.channel4.com.